Good morning, Remy.
Good morning, Breck.
It's we're a day later than we normally are. Sorry, I'm trying to get organized here. Not working.
She asked me if I was ready. Apparently, she wasn't ready.
I'm not ready. In my mind, I'm ready, but I'm not really ready. No. Um, it's been just crazy busy for both of us lately, and obviously today's Thursday, I think, and yesterday it just didn't work out because everybody was still tired.
Yeah, I could not wake up, and then we set a different time, and then Breck got busy. But I woke up this morning, kind of. I mean, I'm up. I'm here, present.
You are like the you are like a little a little wizard when it comes to getting ready in the morning. Like you text me or I text you at 7, and at 7:20 or 15 you said you were ready. I'm like, how does that even happen? Because you didn't shower this morning.
I did not shower this morning, but even if I did, I stand there for 5 minutes and think about my life, and that's about it. I don't do anything in the shower. I just stand there.
Speaking of showers, do you do those cold ones?
I do sometimes.
Really? God, I can't. I couldn't. I'd freeze. Mm-mm.
And part of it is like that's not a new thing. So like in Eastern, like if you practice yoga and stuff like that, or like follow any Eastern philosophy, you're always supposed to shower for like 5 to 10 minutes with cold water before you go to sleep. But sometimes I also just shower with cold water because there's 5 other people that live in my house,
That would be the only reason that I would shower with cold water as well.
and what's funny is like I either shower like so what I do is I take like the hottest shower possible and then I'll turn the cold water on for 5 minutes. But I saw this theory last night that we are going to be entering a new ice age because after every heating of the planet, which this is true, so I actually wrote my
Thesis.
my honors thesis on something that was like the little ice age. It was it was about Bruges in the 11th century, but there's a lot of famine because there's a second little ice age. So this guy's got this whole theory that we're entering a little ice age, and that all these cold plunge challenges and stuff like that is the government just getting us ready. So we're like, oh my God, it's -50 outside. Good thing my body's going to perform really well today.
I've lived in -50, and I don't think that a cold water shower will prepare you for that. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it will. I think it's a.
I don't know. You lost me at thesis, Remy.
I'm going to be honest. The other thing too is if if it was great for you, then everyone in the Midwest would be super toned and fit and, not eating.
Have you seen me?
I've seen you. I've also seen a lot of other people in the Midwest, and they tend to look more like me than you.
Oh my God. Alrighty. It was a crazy weekend for both of us, I believe. I mean, Remy and I usually talk pretty often, and I feel like since last week we've hardly talked at all because we've both been busy.
I've been really busy. Here's your challenge. Was that last weekend? Was that the weekend before? No, I'm so confused.
It was last weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it was last weekend, and it was so good. You know what makes me super emotional? And it's really like Remy and I both love to write, and the way I feel during and after one of them is really hard for me to put on paper. Have you ever had that happen?
Sometimes. Usually it's the opposite for me. It's like a lot of word vomit that I don't let anybody see.
I struggle with what's like how to express how I feel about it because like I can barely announce the winners without crying, Remy. And I don't know these women, but I mean I know a lot of them. I don't know. There's a good handful I don't know. And it's hard for me because I've seen over the years like how hard they've worked, where they started. Um I've watched their journey unfold, and it's really cool. I love to see it. there was multiple times that multiple women were bawling throughout the weekend, and it was all good things, like good stories, like a lot of new moms who were going away from their babies for the first time, and they were really struggling with it. Um, a lot of moms, like, didn't we talk about last week or the week before, like the whole transition of having children to everybody kind of moving out?
Yeah.
Moms like that their kids were starting to move out. Um, People who had no confidence whatsoever, like, let me push them and to do good things. I don't know. It's really hard for me to put into words how I feel after all of it. I feel like it energizes me helping and watching them do really good things. So,
No,
um,
I got a Facebook message this week about last week's topic, and it was from another horse trainer, and she sent me a message. She goes, "I didn't have kids, but like, thank you for talking about what you talked about, because while I didn't have kids, it's all these things." And I think we relate a lot of stuff to kids, but there's a lot of things we do that take up a lot of mental and emotional space. And then when you're done with them, you feel empty. And it's not that the thing itself made you feel empty, but there's a part of you that's missing now. And it doesn't necessarily have to be kids. It can be a job, it can be a hobby, it can be whatever. And so I'm glad that you got to make magic for people and have a new.
I love that. Maybe that is what it is, Remy. Like, yeah, like right now I've got tears in my eyes just because that feeling comes back of, and it sounds so corny, and I'm being totally for real. It takes a lot of energy out of me to do it. You know what I'm talking about. Because it's like you're giving your energy to somebody else, and it's very exhausting. I mean, I've been in bed. Like, I usually am kind of, I'm like you, we're late, we stay up late. But I've been in bed by, with the exception of Saturday night, by like 8:39 since last week. I've been going to bed super early, and I think it's because you give a lot of energy in order to do what we do. We give a lot of energy to others. We give our energy to others, and um it's like the Green Mile when they suck. You know what I'm talking about? When they suck the poison out of him. That's almost what it doesn't feel like. That is what it feels like. It feels like somebody is just, in a good way, sucking. You're giving your energy to them, and it's tiring.
No, it is. And it's like we talked about it before. We've talked about it a lot. You only have so much energy and it can be replenished. And so for last weekend, you give a lot of your energy away, but you receive some of it, not all of it, because
Oh
but you
yeah.
receive a lot of it back. And that's why it's important to put good things out there, because you never know when your cup's going to be filled or when someone else's cup has to be filled. So you want to be able to share
My
your
cup
energy.
gets filled through this. It My cup does get filled through this. Um for sure. Like, I love seeing the success of those others, and that fills my cup. The stories fill my cup. It just takes a lot of energy out of me to do it.
And it's funny because I think it's the same thing for me, like with Vegas, right? Is it takes a lot of mental and emotional energy.
Mhm.
And it's almost like, it's going to sound really dumb. It's almost like you're giving out UV rays, and then you get UVB rays back. And you're like, it's a different energy I'm getting back. And I like that I'm getting it, but it doesn't.
Yep.
So that's why you're still tired. You're tired. You're not so much fatigued, but you're tired from
In a
all
good
of it.
way. In a
In a
really
good
good
way. Yeah.
in a really good way. Yeah. So we had that. Brandon's still in Arizona, and it's weird because we are used to being together 24/7 now for the last 2 3 years. We talk about this often, you and I, and now we've been apart for over a week. And the only good thing is that I get to watch whatever the hell I want, and I have been.
So you stayed up late watching Netflix.
I did. I did. And then Bodie went. He was in that Sioux Falls show, which was really big, I heard, and good.
And he had a fantastic show.
He did, yeah. What that is like what we talked about last weekend, though, for me, because that you just wait, Remy. Wait till your boys get to that point where they're starting to do things on their own and you're like, shit. I mean, I've only got like 3 more years left with Bodie.
Oh, it's I know I had a friend one time, she's like, I can't wait till my baby can walk. And I was like, I'm not that far ahead of you, but you will miss each of those stages in turn. You will like the new stages too, but you will miss each of those stages in turn. I don't want my kids to grow up. I mean, I do, but I don't. I like having them around.
Me too. I mean, there are a lot of days where I don't not want them around, but I really want to. I don't even know. And then I see moments like this, and I'm like, oh man, it goes so fast.
He had a very good show. I kept seeing him popping up in the winner's circle. I tried to watch, but the live feed didn't really work. So
yeah, it's kind of a tin can down there, so I suppose that it wasn't the best. But what about you?
So we had stuff all weekend, and then we had baseball all day Saturday. We had a very hard loss Saturday evening, and again, right, like coaching styles. So we played Kyle's coach from last year, who I wasn't a huge fan of then, and
I remember the story.
And so they beat us on technicalities. They did not play us. They beat us on technicalities. And one of the things is he tried to get Kyle called out because in our little league, you can't lead off until the ball is across the plate. And Kyle doesn't lead off anyway. And so the coach like comes out and he's yelling and he's like you need to throw him out. So I made sure I really watched the next time. So here the ball hit the glove and Kyle leads off. And he comes like storming out of the thing again. I was just like, okay. And then
The gloves came off.
yeah, and I held it together, and later in the game, there should have been an out call. They didn't call the out, or they called the out, and then their coaches came out and they overturned the call. And there's another dad next to me, and he's like, this is why she's out, blah blah blah. Because there's this girl that's on the other team, and I mean, she is ice cold. She is amazing. She is so good. But she ran out of the base. There's a couple things. She ran out of the baseline. She didn't tag home plate. There's a couple of reasons she should have been out. And so the dad is like yelling at the ump, and the ump's like, I'm going to throw you out of here. He's like, good, throw me out. And I was like, okay, but so your coach can scream at my 10-year-old son across the field. But it got like real heated. But the little girl, she's awesome. She plays second and she pitches. And she is like, James goes, go see if you can trade one of ours for her. So we had baseball on Saturday, and then it was T's birthday on Sunday. So
Nice.
The boys worked around the house and cleaned up. I barbecued a lot of stuff, and then a bunch of people came over, and all the kids were swimming, which was kind of sad for Tiana's birthday because he's a cast on, so he can't swim.
He can't.
And I think that was it. And then we just did, work in baseball this week. So.
Aww.
But we did get our code finally for Bones Coffee. Where's this at?
Oh, nice.
This is amazing. It's called a S'more Time Cold Brew Latte. It tastes like s'mores and coffee, and it's awesome. So if you guys go to bonescoffee.com at checkout, our code is Cowgirls. That's simple. You should be able to remember that.
With a capital C or lowercase?
I think it's a capital C. I don't think it's case sensitive.
Oh.
So, but I will post a link later, and hopefully I'll get this video and I'll put a little banner running across the bottom. So, but we're supposed to get rain today. It was 90 and it was 100. No, it was 95 at the ball field Saturday morning, and I've had to wear a sweatshirt every day this week. So I don't know what's happening in California, but we usually bypass spring. I mean, that's not new. We usually go from like 50 to 90, but we went from 50 to 90 back to like 55 again. So
it has been cold here and windy, but I suppose we need the wind to dry out all the mud and rain. but it has been really nice the last couple days, and it's supposed to go back into being cold and shitty next week. And I'm like, I hate that. I just wish that it would be cold and shitty, cold and shitty, cold and shitty. And then one day the clouds open up and the sun comes out and it's beautiful for the rest of the time. Not
I
gonna be
mean, you got short sleeves on.
I do.
I mean, I got a long sleeve pajama shirt on. That's what I'm rocking.
I was gonna tell you that it's super cute.
Thanks.
Leopard.
It's like it's just like a normal like long sleeve.
Thinly.
Yeah. I don't
So for this weekend, yesterday or a couple days ago, Remy and I were talking about what we were going to talk about today, and I'm like, well, I heard a lot of this over the weekend, and one of the things was kind of directed at me and how I felt, and so anywho, I don't know how we're going to word this, Remy, but I'll tell you the story and then we can go from there. So the Top Hand Challenge was over on Saturday night, and somebody had come to me on Saturday morning and said, hey, did you see that there were some flyers for another Top Hand around here? They're up and around here. It's in South Dakota. What do you know about that? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. It is not mine. I'm not in no way, shape, or form associated with it. I have no clue. And they're like, well, aren't you pissed? And I said, well, I wish they would have named it something different. But at the end of the day, they cannot recreate me. So I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to spend a lot of energy on it. But like I told Remy, I heard a lot of people throughout the weekend, random people, talk about similar stories as of that one, and just other areas of their life, other things non-related to that horse show. But it was similar stories, and people were spending a lot of time and energy being pissed off about things that probably didn't pay to be pissed off about. And so and I had heard those conversations, and I was just thinking to myself, oof, it takes a lot of energy to be mad about something like that. And then I got the question asked to me, and I was like, well, I guess I'm just not going to put the energy into being pissed off about that, is the way I felt. So Remy and I in turn got to talking about, how do you feel when somebody basically takes an idea or copies something that you're doing? Or am I wording that right, Remy?
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, so is it flattery and fangirling, or is it taking what you've built, right? And that's where I think you have to be careful about what energy you put out there. So again, right, we've talked about some of our troubles here at the ranch. And right, everybody wants to be you until they really got to be you, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be you until they really got to put the work in, because to be honest, there's some days I'd give you my business. Come do what you're going to do. And hold on one moment, momentarily. Apparently my husband thinks I ran away. He's like, where are you? Okay. Let's go back to it. There we go. Okay, back. So right, so on a scale of when people try and copy us, is it flattering? A little bit. But they can't be me again, but they can try. And in the interim, they can really hurt my business. So that's where I think there's this level of how much energy do you put into it, right? And it's like, I'm confident. Again, I'm confident, right? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to be me? Oh, well, shit, someone actually tried this time. Still didn't work out for them. But in the meantime, really fucked my life up for a little bit. So
I think it does depend on the situation. Like you said, it is situational, because we had probably a 15-minute conversation about this the other day, and you're like, you would ask me multiple times, so you're not offended at all. Or, and then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, maybe it just depends on the situation. Like in my particular case from this weekend, that really wasn't that big of a situation for me where I really felt attacked, or do you know what I'm saying? Like I just, that one was, I knew when I saw it, like, well, I'm not going to put that much energy into it. Yeah.
So it's like we have some friends that do they made a ranch riding association around here. They've done a phenomenal job. The artwork's great. They've promoted it. They've gotten sponsors. They've done just a phenomenal job, right? And another arena pretty much took all of their stuff, including like their graphics and everything, right? And then so they're getting phone calls for the same kind of thing, right? They named it the same thing. They use the same kind of signage and font and all of that. So they made it look very similar. And people are getting phone calls about it. And they're like, oh, well, they said this and this and this. And they're like, that's not our thing. So again, that's something to be offended about, because not only did you not do anything original, you went so far as to copy everything they'd done and then not produce the same product. And I think that's the hard part for me, right? I produce a very good product. You produce a very good product. And when you want to ride my coattails and you don't do as good of a job as me, I feel like not only did you take money from me, it also now reflects poorly on me, right?
Well, and
Because
that, oh,
so
go ahead.
if people think that she's connected to you, and she's not, we're not saying that she is, but by advertising at your show and kind of and and moving in that circle, if you somehow get connected to something that isn't good just by
Yeah.
proximity, now it affects what you've built. Not even money, and not even so much money wise, but it affects what you've built and you've spent a long time building and creating and making better. And that's where I think it's tough now. uh
Well, and I mean, unless you're Amazon, pretty much all ideas came from somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, there's not very many things in this world that are originals. Everything is a spinoff of something somebody else has already done. Like,
Something is
top in
in
out
it, so when we talk about in academia, right, it's influenced by something else, right?
influence.
It's
Okay, influence.
influenced by something else.
um, true. And Top Young Cowgirl was influenced by somebody else. And I called her and had a conversation with her about what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it different and different from hers, but the original idea was definitely influenced by what my experience was with her. And so I do think that common courtesy would be that, but
So it's like, look, I'll use a minor thing that is not offensive. So I've been wearing denim on denim and a sharp creased hat for a long time, right? It's been my style.
it's easy.
I didn't. I'll tell you where I got it from. I didn't get it from other girls. I didn't get it from watching rodeos. There's a couple guys out here, Dan Denmark and Ryan Martin. They're from different Indian reservations, and they always had these sharp
He
crease.
truly is a denim Dan.
Yes, he is. He's amazing.
Oh
He's
my
fair.
God.
He's such a hand. But like they always had the sharp crease pants and the sharp crease denim and the sharp crease hat, and I was like, that is the look I want. So again, I didn't take. I took it from someone else, and then you'll watch people. They're like, oh well, it's because of so and so. And I was like, no, I can show you the two guys I copied. I can show you who I thought I wanted to look like, and so again, like that's not offensive to me, but certain things are, right? You want to come in and you want to put on a show and you want to be as good as me and you want to do all those things. Well, I spent 20 years getting this good at what I've done, and you don't get to come in and be as good. And you might be successful for a little bit and it hurts in the short term, but you're not going to do it long term because there isn't a ton of money in what we do, especially if you're not efficient about it. Um, we ran Vegas really on for as big as that show is, and that show is a monster. We run that on a skeleton crew also, and our stuff around the house, like we're putting on a show in Norco May 19th through the 21st. We got 10,000 added, but because we have to pay for the arena, we have 3 days worth of events, right? Friday, we have a clinic in the morning, followed by an RSNC, followed by our Friday night lights. Saturday is all day sorting.
You
And
have
then
to keep
Sunday
it
is team penny. And so like one of my clients is like, man, you're really putting a lot in there. I said, when you got to pay for the arena,
you have
you will
to.
now do everything you can to make money. Where, I would still, we were, Saturday and Sunday were still going to be the same here at the house, but I wasn't going to have to really hustle on Friday to do 1,000 different things to make sure that it made sense and that we're offering enough for people, right? If you're going to come and now you're going to pay for stalls, how do I offer you a better product, more of a product? Like how do I offer you everything that you want so that you will come and partake of my business and make it financially viable and fun for us?
It is it does, you do have to cram in a lot of stuff. One thing that I will say that I feel bad about, I don't feel bad about, I shouldn't say feel bad about. I know I have to do something about it. And Remy and I are a lot alike in the fact that we are both lone rangers. Like, we feel like we can do a lot of stuff on our own. And it's probably a curse more than a good thing. Even though we think that we're superwomen, it is probably more of a curse than anything because it's hard for us to accept help that is offered to us. I am getting better. I don't know about you, but I know I am getting better.
I've gotten way better. But I was having this conversation with one of my friends the other day. Like when I was younger, I would never be like, "Oh yeah, you want to help me? Great, thanks for the help." And now I'm like, "Oh, you want to help me? Perfect. You can go do
Let me
this."
get
But
you your list.
yeah, but I still like. It's not that I micromanage, right? I'm still very particular about what I'll let people help me with
Me too.
because you know, it's
But I'm getting better at understanding. I've always known my strengths and weaknesses, but that still has not deterred me from trying to do it all. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm doing a disservice to people because I'm trying to make my weaknesses my strengths and I'm not doing a good job about it. So I need to give that piece of things to somebody who is going to do a good job about it and cares about it. And I have found two who do. So that is helping. But as you evolve, you have to change. And I don't feel like I've done a very good job changing as I evolve. So that is something that I've been writing down and thinking about because if you think about it, if you don't change, Remy, you will be left in the dust.
Mhm.
And I'm like nervous because I feel like I haven't done anything in the last year or so to change. And I need to for the tap in stuff.
I think the other thing too is when you're really good at what you do. We've talked about this on here, right? You're held to a different standard, which is like if like our shows have to run on time, we have to be efficient. Now I'll go to other shows where computers go down, and it's not that people don't have a little bit of grace for us, but there's a promoter that came down here and someone's like, oh, all the other promoters now have to step up their game. Look at all this added money. Well, I'm looking at the added money and it's like $100 or $2 a class. Oh, they're giving out saddles. You guys should give out saddles. Then I see the win picture, right? And this is a show in 2023, and the saddle is from 2018, 2019. Like the fender, they didn't even change the fender out on the saddle. And I was like, cool. If we can give away saddles from forever ago, I got 24. I can give away 3 saddles and 8 penny classes if I can just give away my old stuff, right? But had I done that, had I as a promoter, had JR Productions as a promoting company or as a production company, given away a 4-year-old saddle, I'd have been crucified because I do my job and I do it very well and we offer a fantastic product. But where they forgive someone else, we are not forgiven. And again, we've been very good at our jobs, right? So now we're held to a different standard. And that's the not fun part of evolution, right? Is if you did it well last year, you have to do it bigger and better because good is no longer good enough, right? Because you did it so well, they now expect more, and that gets tiring. Like always being perfect gets tiring. Now you can evolve, and that's what that's what we've done. We've added some classes or we've changed some things. But I think that it's like if your top hand cowgirl works really well, maybe people should realize how well it's crafted, right? And that's what I think why I get tired about some stuff is I'm offering you something better than everyone else. And it's taken us 20 years to perfect all of this. I can hear your phone going. It's taken us 20 years to perfect all of this. And why is that not good enough, right? Why do you need something else and not even a better product from someone else? Just because it's different makes it better? Well, it's not better. And you hear all the things, not all the fluff on the top. You hear all the problems behind it. And it's like, but I offer you something that's great. And because you're used to it being great, you can't see the greatness anymore. And that's where, same thing, right? Where do you, what do you fight for? Okay, well, someone's coming in behind you to do something similar to you. Now, are they going to do it better? Well, you told me what they're charging. They're not going to do it better, you know? And I'm not trying to pick on that person. I have no idea who the person is
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not either.
But I'm just saying, you know, it's like when someone, it's the same thing like when you see, it's, you know, like when you see photographers or leather workers or all these other craftsmen offer up a product and like what's one of the first comments you'll see underneath it? I can find it somewhere else for cheaper. Okay, can you find the same quality somewhere else for cheaper? And if you could, good on you. But I'm not responsible for what I mean, I am responsible for what I charge, but you need to be willing to pay what I charge if you like my product. And I say that like not so much about what we do because in our, bye Breck.
sorry.
in our in our industry, you know, like our entry fees are all very similar, and so it's not the same thing. But I really see it a lot with my friends that are craftsmen. You know, like, oh, I can't believe you charge this much. And then, you know, like I got a really cool headstall from Dusty Diamond Leather from James for Christmas. Someone goes, "Oh, did you make that?" And I like looked at it. I was like, "No way could I make that. Like I do leather work, but that is, it looks machine done, and it's all done by hand." So, you know, I know how long it takes me to make not a nice one, let alone make one that nice. So she deserves to be paid for her time.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have different suggestions on how I can make the show itself better or different or just ideas for me. Everybody has their own idea and opinion, but a lot of people want to change the classes. And I'm pretty particular on why I have them, and I'm pretty particular about why I do top hand and the client that I serve. I mean, I love to serve all cowgirls, but my ideal client is that woman who is the mom at the different life stages as a mom, or that professional businesswoman who just can't find her footing um, horseback and wants a little extra help. Um, the person who wants to get back into showing, who's always helped somebody else. Uh, Somebody who just doesn't have the confidence that they thought, and they need somebody else to give them that confidence. That is the client I serve. And while my classes are very simple, there's a lot of horsewomen who think that the classes are easy and that can be done, that they still struggle with them too because of the horsemanship piece. And I like to teach that. So I have no intention of changing the classes or doing anything different there. I just, I don't know.
Well, it's so again, like let's look at Vegas, right? We built Vegas as something called, it was like legacy championships because the US wasn't very big. And again, we weren't trying to serve that clientele, right? Our clientele was Western states or anyone else that kind of wanted to come out and have a good time in Vegas. And we offer a lot of very, even from the beginning, we offered a lot of beginner friendly classes because for us, that's our target clientele is those guys
And
that
you
want.
have a lot of people, Remy, who they ride the legacy classes. I mean, not only were your USTPA classes really big, your legacy classes were really big as well. And those people, the majority of the people who rode legacy did not ride the US classes.
Yeah, or what you see is like every year the guys that just ride the legacy, the next year then they feel comfortable riding up into the USTPA. So we like to offer that. And I had someone that like, oh, you could run, you know, if you would just get rid of the legacy classes, we would run shorter days. And I said, okay. But my legacy classes aren't throwaway classes, and they are important because that's how we get new people into this sport, right? That's how we get people that feel comfortable with having trash cattle, with being under the big lights in Vegas in a class that they feel they're competitive in. And again, um, we straddle being part of a national organization and being part of a West Coast organization that we built, right? That we built for specific people. We did not build it for open guys. And I say that as an open rider, but there's like 20 of us in the country really that go. So you can't build a show for us, right? My added money is always the same thing in Norco. The added money is really set aside for the novice classes because that's my main clientele. Those are the guys that support me. Those are the guys that deserve it. And the other thing too is we've got to stop overlooking that part of the equation, because it's not like when we first started out, like open riders traveled deep with clients. And we still do, right? When I go somewhere,
Times have changed.
yeah, but like we're one of the last guys standing that when we haul somewhere, we haul a bunch of guys with us. Like if we show up, there's a lot of guys coming with us. But the open guys aren't that way anymore, right? That you're lucky if they bring one or two clients. So it makes a big difference. Like it makes a big difference on how you build your shows. And again, there's just less open riders. So while they might be upset that we don't build our show for them, they're not doing anything in return. And again, they're not my core clientele because there's very few of us, and they're either going to come. Like I will tell you, for me as a rider, it doesn't matter if it's 10,000 added or 50,000 added. If I don't want to go, I'm not going. No amount of added money is going to make me want to go. As I'm just at that stage in my life. We've talked about it, right? We used to be mercenaries. You put up added money, we were there. The other thing too is added money's everywhere now. You can throw a rock and hit a $10,000 added show. So,
Well, I think that the most important thing is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. If you know who you want to serve and who your ideal client is, that's half the battle. And both of us know that. I have gotten out of the habit of listening to podcasts since we were in Arizona. And since we've been back, I'm like, excuse me. I had a tickle in my throat. I need to get back on listening to something, and I'm having a hard time getting back into it. So if anybody has any suggestions on who to listen to.
Okay, so what's funny is James found Jim Rohn, Rohn, which is the guy that got Tony Robbins going, right? Like that was his mentor.
And I love Tony, so that would be a good one.
And so it's like all these old things from like the 70s and 80s. They're all on YouTube. And a lot of it, same thing, right? Is I grew up reading philosophy. So a lot of it is actually Stoic philosophy that gets applied to business. And James like, oh, I want you to listen. And we were listening to something, and I like looked at him and I was like, did you not listen to my success podcast? I was like, I didn't have to listen to him to have those same ideas. But James really likes it because it's like especially for him, especially for Jim Rohn, a lot of it applies to business and how you have to work on yourself. He says like, his mentor, it's not my phone. Is it your phone that's going off that you can hear the vibrating from?
Mine's not doing anything. It did ring earlier, but it's not. It could also, disclosure, I don't have it plugged in, and there's a chance that it could die before we're done. So if I go black, that's what's happening.
I don't know. Something is vibrating, and I don't know.
I don't hear anything, Remy.
Okay, well, maybe it's on my side. That is also awkward. Okay. Anyway, I can hear vibrating. It's bothering me. The like zzz sound. Anyway, so he talks about, and it's true, right? If you want to be successful in business, you have to change yourself. And it's not so much you have to change what you're doing in your job, but you have to work on yourself, which is true. So again, there's that flattery. So someone is flattering you by copying what you do, but they don't know what it took for you to get there. They don't know what it's going to take for you to be on top either. If that, and I think you see a lot of people not understand that either, is that you are always evolving, even if it doesn't look like from the outside, right? You're not going to change your classes, but you might change some small things about the show.
Correct.
Just to reinvent it, right? So that's evolving without changing in a good way, right? You've you're taking your product and you're making it tighter, you're making it better, you're figuring out what serves the most people the best, not what serves a certain group. And I have this whole thing too. So as a business person, I have this whole thing that's like, you have to listen to suggestions, right? But again, we got caught in it with legacy. We listened to all these suggestions and changed it for a while, and it destroyed what we built, and then we had to build it back up. And part of it was the economy, but the other part was listening to too many people. I should have just stuck to my guns, and James and I should have stuck to our guns and not made some changes that we made. But you have to be able to change and evolve and make your product better. But what happens is you have all these people that are like, oh, you should do this. And I finally wanted, like, I had someone that would always give me advice, right? I always had suggestions. And I finally told them, I said, you don't partake in my services enough to
For
give
me
me
to
suggestions.
listen.
Yeah, right. You don't support me enough. So you don't see all the good that I do or all the good that we do. And I say I, but it's like, it's the opposite of the royal we. It's James and I. You don't see all of the good that we do in order for you to tell me that it's not right. And I think it's hard for people because they want to tell you how to fix it. Well, they weren't with you in the trenches, or they don't know why you do what you do because they show up once a year. Right? If you show up once a year, you can't tell me why you do what I do.
So for me, I get a lot of suggestions too. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand or don't know, like, I built Top Hand Cowgirl for myself. Like, Top Hand Cowgirl got me through stuff. And I felt like I could do the same for others. And so that's what it is. So I'm very selfish. Like, you can give me an idea or your opinion, but at the end of the day, it's mine. And I'm going to do exactly what I want to do with that. But it's different for me because it's not as much of a business as it is your horse shows are for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I've been able to keep Top Hand Cowgirl true to myself because of what it means to me. And there are certain things that I will not go away from because I feel very strongly about them.
Okay, so building it for you. I have a girlfriend, again, they do the ranch riding stuff, right? And she and her husband built that association out of watching ranch riding go at the end of days, being kind of pushed aside, right? It was just an add-on. So she sees this need. She sees all these people that really want to show their horses, but they don't really want to show cow horse, right? They don't want to do that. And they want to do something more than Western pleasure. And they're not quite into the ranch horse versatility. Because same thing, we used to do ranch horse versatility classes here before they got really big. So like we will probably end up doing some of them again, and they will look like a Top Hand challenge because we've been doing them off and on for 20 years because we set up a trail course like where we bring in giant trees. James digs a hole in our arena. There's a big hill. You got to run through the trail course, and then we usually have a cow at the end of it, and you either have to rope it or load it in the trailer, right? Like that. Like for us, it's all really ranch work. And then we would do the ranch cutting and the in and by sorting and a bunch of stuff, right? Like iterations of ranch horse versatility that was real ranchy, not just this is what it looks like when you ranch, right? And so she's did the same thing. She found all the best parts she liked of the ranch riding, and she made it into an association. And it's been a labor of love for them, but it's been a labor, right? Like they're not really making very much money, and all these people think they're making money. Heads up, people, if you do it with horses and cattle or anything, there's not a lot of money. There's not. You have to do a lot of things to make a little bit of money at a lot of things so that it all comes together. So, after a couple of years of building it, they started in 2020. She has a very nice green horse that she has in training, and she's shown it a couple times and had some success. And then there's all the chatter, right? Well, she's winning because she's a producer and it's a judge sport and all this stuff. And they didn't say anything when that horse bucked through his lead changes or didn't make the lead change, right? They didn't talk shit about her then. And now there's chatter about it. And, she sent me something to look at. And I said, don't respond. I said, just don't respond. And I'm going to tell you not to respond out of friendship and love because I too have written those diatribes, right? Like, fuck you, fuck your mom, I'll burn your fucking house down, right? In a very business appropriate way. But you don't send them because the people that you're trying to address and prove things to don't fucking care anyway, right? And now you're giving them fodder. And again, right, like there's a lot of horses in those classes, but she built something for her, and now you've taken it away from her because she finally made it stand on its own where she can now show, and you want to take it away. And it's so disheartening. And and so they're just going to take a couple steps back and have some more separation. But like the fact that you got to tell grown-ass adults that you're not cheating and that you've worked for 3 years for them to have a really
People
cool
are
post.
assholes.
No, you
People
really
are
are. And like,
assholes.
same thing for her when she talks about it, right? When she talks about what it is, she talks about the confidence you see in some of these people and how it's grown. And that fills her cup. It fills her cup, right? She has built something for all these people. And now she wants to partake in it because really that's why she built it. She didn't build it so she could win. She built it, she had a place to go show. And they can't appreciate it. And for me, that sucks, and it's disheartening because she's got a full-time job. This isn't her job. She has a full-time job, and she does all this stuff on the side. And no one's immune to it. Everyone has it happen at some point. And if no one is copying you, then you're not successful enough, or you're not cool enough.
Before my clinic, somebody said to me, they're like, I can't believe that you said that. That was like kind of harsh. And I was like, I don't care. I've learned, like, if you don't put it out there, you're better off if you just say it and put it out there and be done with it, because then you won't have the issue. But if you don't address it, then chances are you're going to have a freaking issue. I just stood in front of them all in my clinic, and there was like 20 some of them. And I said, this is a fun weekend. If you are not here to learn, make friends, find the love again for your horse, find a piece of success, no matter what that may look like for you, then you're here for the wrong reasons. If you're not here to cheer everybody on, I get a lot of newbies, a lot of novice riders who this is their first time doing anything with a cow ever. And they just want to see a little, just any shred of success, whatever it may look like for them. Yeah. It might be just walking their horse into the herd nicely, because some of them can't get their horse into the herd. I'm like, if you can't be a cheerleader for everybody and you want to find something to bitch about at any point in time, then this is not for you.
No, again, it's not like you're putting up, it's not like you're putting up
there's no high stakes.
That's what I mean. It's not like it's some like 30,000 added to first place, right? It's about because
this is a starting point.
Aside from that, you're gonna get some awards, right? It's about the camaraderie. It's about the horsemanship. It's about finding pieces of yourself out there. And I think you get those guys, and we see it at our shows too, right? Like we talk about our Friday night lights. That is a feeding pool for bigger shows for some people. A lot of people, that's all they're going to want to do. And that's okay, right? They want to come, spend a little bit of money, have fun with their friends, have fun with some cows, eat some tacos, and sort, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun for them. So you can't, and then you get some people that'll come, like some of our more advanced riders will come on a Friday night, and it's like you almost have to ask them to leave because I'm like, you are ruining this great thing for a lot of people. They aren't trying to go win the world. They're not trying to set the world on fire. They want to come play with some cows, hang out with their friends, have a couple drinks, eat some tacos, and be good.
And
right?
we have a lot of people who are seasoned veteran riders who are experienced. And I feel like all I had to do was just politely remind them that you get to be the mentor this weekend to these women. So you need to help and step up your game too, as far as mentorship goes, and be a cheerleader for them. Don't try to find something that's going wrong. Don't try to point out different rules that may or may not be in place, because that is not what we are about. This is a welcome space for everybody. Make them feel welcome. And I think that we've done a very good job about that, but it's because I'm very clear. Like, if you want to be a bitch, then you need to go somewhere else. If you want to be a Karen, then you need to go someplace else, because I want none of it. There's enough places that you could do things and they welcome it. This is not one of them.
Yeah, and I think I think we've talked about it too, right? You have to set a tone as a producer for your show. And we didn't really have that many problems with Vegas. I had one
No.
big problem. I had one, no, it wasn't even a big problem. But we had one problem in Vegas, and I called the person. I go, "Look, you're the only one that didn't understand the rules. Only one." And of course, it's an open rider. It's always an open rider. And
Of
part of it
course,
is because,
they're
and part of it is
competitive.
because we know more, right? Like, so we know how to push things. Like, you're the only one that didn't understand it. And I was so tired by the time it happened. And I was like, I will take the assault charge. I'll punch you in the face. I'm so good. I'm done. And he just laughed at me, and he was like, like, but it's the same thing. Like, I have a long-term relationship with this person. And, but I was just like, I'm tired. I'm not fighting with you. If you want your money back, I'll just give you your money back and pull you out of the class. And he's like, no,
Simple
no, I'll fix
solution.
it. Right. Right. And he's like, I'll fix it. But it was one of those things. Had I just bowed down and rolled over, he'd have taken advantage of that too.
Mm.
But, open writers figure out how to push just enough, right? Just enough to get what we want. And that's, again, I had guys that came to Vegas for the first time from Texas and stuff. And we've always had guys from Texas, but every year at the US finals, there's a general membership meeting. And every year I stand up and I talk about the atmosphere on the West Coast compared to going to Texas, right? Or like, the big shows back there as compared to the big shows out here. And it's long standing. This is nothing new. Now, out here, it's always been like when you see people in the morning, good morning, how's it going? And you would talk to people. And a lot of it is because it was other cattlemen that used to be the open riders out here, right? You would have to deal with them outside of the penning arena. And I remember going to Texas, and from the time that I was little, no one talked until the open was done, right? They needed to win their money first. And then it was like, hey, how's it going? That's not a great atmosphere when you're trying to grow a sport and you don't want it to be so cutthroat. Look, we all want to win. I am not saying that at all. We all want to win. We all want to win for big money. But I had those guys that had never been to a show out here, that are from that USTPA ingrained different mentality than we have. And the one guy goes, I see what you're talking about. He's like, because this is as competitive of an open as I've seen anywhere. He's like, and you guys are still friendly and talking and helping and doing all like the whole group, right? Not just us. It's Brandon, it's the other Canadians, it's all these guys, because the atmosphere is different. It isn't show up, win, and burn everybody else's house down, right? It's show up, win, hang out in the stands, talk to people, make relationships, do all those things. And again, it's what we fostered. It's something new. It's not the same old, same old. And I think you have to figure out how to replicate that. And it's hard to replicate. But again, open writers are going to push it. You just have to keep us all in line. And I say us because I will push things too. So
Absolutely. I mean, all open riders are the same. They're competitive. That's why they're open riders.
and
Well, Renee, I better get off of here before my phone dies. But it was a good conversation, and I think that it's something that we've all encountered at some point in our life. And I think that before you answer somebody when they bring something like this to you, that you need to think about it, because it does take up a lot of energy and a lot of space in your head, in your life. And I think that each circumstance is different. So handle it accordingly. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, right? You want to copy my hat shape, it doesn't bother me. I think it's cool as shit. You should think it's cool as shit too, right? But you want to copy my business and try and take it from me, that's a different conversation I'm going to have. Or at least I'm going to have to think about. I do. You have to pick your hill to die on. Not all of them are worth dying on. And
Correct.
honestly, I probably should have let the other thing with the other arena go. And then I wouldn't be in the same jam that I'm in, because the advertising is what got us in trouble. Jealousy is what got us in trouble. I should have stayed the course and been confident in what I built. It's
I know. It's like you look back, and I guess that's their
it's a lot
lesson.
of coulda, woulda, shouldas.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's part of growing, I guess. Well, good conversation. Until next week, be bold,
Be brave.
Be humble. I remembered.
Look at you.
Woo! All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.